Hello, this is your 8.92 tutorial. To start with, we'll click on the A, New. Make sure you load your template files that were given to you. Mine are stored in my documents in the McFatter templates folder. This drawing is going to require the ACAD ISO. All right. For the video, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I have my grid off, so ease of view. This next part you do not have to do. I'm going to insert the assignment onto this drawing so we can work on it together. All right, so there's the drawing. On this drawing, I'd recommend working on the top view first, because it deals heavily with circles. It's the majority of what we're going to work with. So the radius of this is at 15. So we're going to double that to make a straight line, because on the top view, the circle is going to look like a straight line. So I'm going to go back to home, make sure I'm working with either my object layer or my layer 0 or construction layer. I'm going to do this in object. So I'm going to draw my line straight. Make sure your ortho tool is on so that your line is going straight. All right, I'm going to type in 15. So I'm going to double that number at 30. Enter. And then I have a distance here at 64 from the very top of the top view to the bottom of the top view. So I'm going to copy that, bringing that down 64. The pieces here are at 12, so I'm going to copy that at 12. And repeat a copy here at 12. I'm going to go ahead and change my layer to construction. I have a distance from here going across, so that distance right here, 2 times, it's like 38. So I'm going to go 38. I'm going to go up 32. And that's going to be the center point here for my circle. The circles, there's going to be a radius of 15 and a diameter of 15. So I'm going to start with the diameter tool. If you don't see the diameter tool, located here and the arrow pushing down. At the end point, I'm going to draw a circle, and that diameter is going to be 15. I'm going to go back up to the circle. I'm going to change the radius, and from here is going to be 15. So now I have my 2 circles. I'm going to change these 2 circles to object. And I need to draw a line from here to go tangent to this circle. Now I do have my tangent snap on. If you do not, make sure you check it here. And make sure you have tangent on. And because I started from a point here, I can easily just go to tangent to it and click the tangent point, and the object snap breaks ortho. I'll do it again on the other side. From here to tangent. Then I'll select those two lines and make them object layer. I'm also going to need a line coming straight down here. Let me change my working layer to object. I'm going to trim using the trim command, selecting this line and this line here is my cutting plane to cut the circle, leaving just that arc shape here. Since both sides are equal, I'm going to use the mirror command, selecting these objects here, this object down at the bottom, the lines that I drew down. Then I'm going to right click, placing my line at the midpoint of that line. I'm going to draw it straight down. Make sure not to hit any snap points because it will cause the piece to become crooked. So avoiding any snap points, going to push it straight down, away from any objects. And then I'm going to use my left click to select. Then it asks me if I want to erase the source object. The default is set to no. If your default is set to yes, make sure to change it to no. At no, I can hit enter. If it didn't say no, then push N, then enter. All right. I can erase this line for construction use, delete that. And from here, the top view is almost finished. The only thing that's missing is the hidden lines for the circles. We'll go ahead and transfer that up once we finish our front view. So now I'm going to select this view here. I'm going to move it just a little bit higher to get it out of the way. What I'm going to do now is going to start with some construction lines. And from the quadrant, or a midpoint in this case, bring it straight down. I'll select that line and use the copy command, the end point of the line, and reference all the other quadrants, centers, quadrant, endpoints of lines, my quadrant, another quadrant, don't forget my center, and this midpoint. And now I have a bunch of lines here projected down to create my front view. And change my layer to object. And draw the first baseline coming straight across. Now I could use the exterior line here and here to cut this line here and here, so it is the exact length of the object. They did not give me a straight overall distance. I could do the math to figure it out. By just drawing those circles allowed me to find where the end of that line is. Next, I know the piece itself is 12.5 tall. So I'm going to use the copy command, selecting my baseline and copying it up. Selecting any random point, going up. 12.5 0.5, enter. Then the next measurement, since I'm using the copy, I can still select another distance. To the center line that I'm going to need is going to be 35. So I'll type in 35. This is a good time to now annotate this line, and this line as center lines. So I'm going to go up to my layer. Notice that it's dark here because I have multiple different line types selected. And now I can change both of them, or all three of them, to center lines. All right. So I need one more center line coming through the middle of this. So now I'm going to change my layer to center line and draw a center line. I'm going to start at the top and bring it straight through. All right, so now I see where these two intersect. This is going to be where the center of this hole is going to go. I have two radiuses here, or excuse me, a radius of 15 and a diameter of 12. So let's go ahead and put those in. Change my layer back to object layer. Start with the radius. Find the I could use the perpendicular, I could use intersection, or I could use midpoint of that line. All three of those will work in my case. I want midpoint. So from here, this is currently the radius. Radius is 15. You'll notice that it matches up with those two lines that came down from here. So it's telling me that the exterior circle is correct. Now I'll go ahead and change this to diameter. Using the center of the circle, I'll put my diameter in. Diameter is 12. And now I can go ahead and use a hidden line type to project from this intersection here, the quadrant, and project it straight across. I'm just going to bring that hole across. Now, as you see, as I project this, it cuts through this rectangle here. It gives the illusion that it's cutting through here, but as we can see from the drawing, there is no material in between those two radiuses. And then it re-cuts through this rectangle here. Those rectangles are the circles that you see here and here. And that's where the hole exists, leaving open space in between them. So now I'm going to use the trim command, selecting this line, and this line, and this line, and that line to cut in between. Then any excess that I have left over, going past when I drew the lines, and the original projection, leaving the hidden lines represented here, which besides dressing it up with center lines and dimensions, this view is now done. Here I still need some work. I need to bring the lines that are coming from the quadrants straight down to the end of the piece. What I can do is use the trim command, using the circle as a cutting plane, and select these construction lines, and then repeat the trim using the bottom to cut these two lines here. And then I will select these two lines and make them object layers. So what happens here is that this is the line that comes up to the piece, and then it continues down because this piece here is slanted inward. So this is one face right here, and this brings it back that way to finish off the piece. Those object lines, go ahead and draw an object line, that come down from here to here, and from here to here. Now, you'll notice a difference between the front of this, how smooth and flat that is, versus that I have a line here. I'm actually going to trim that line out using the trim command to cut that away. But there is a line behind that because this has a backside. You can see this backside from this one, which from this view would be more of a front, but it's behind something else. It has a line back here as well. So those two lines indicate that there should be a line here. So what I'm going to do is now change to hidden line. And I'll draw my hidden line going across here. And there's that hidden line that's behind this object. I'm also going to start trimming, selecting this and this here to get rid of this round pit here. That now has a smooth surface from the very bottom going up to the top, just like the image displays here. That hidden line is behind in the back. Now, what we need to do is convert this line and this line here, along with this line and this line here, to hidden lines. They're the hidden lines for the holes that are going through the object here, coming straight down. I'll use the trim command, selecting the top, the bottom, and the other top, because now they're separate. And I can cut this, 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 this. Ooh, I missed. Make sure you get that crossing window to touch that hidden line. See, if I miss, I'm not between it, it doesn't select it. So I got to make sure I touch that yellow line right there. All right, there we go, looking good. Now we're going to fix the center lines that we have going through here. I'm going to use these two lines here and these two lines here again to cut the center lines. Now we have a center line here, but they have to stick out past the object line here and past the object line here. Let's see, what would be a good length? Let's bring this out approximately, let's say a 10, and then a 10 down this way. And you see how I get that nice clean pop where I see my center line now? I'm going to undo that. I just wanted to take an estimate of what the best would look like. So now I'm going to use the offset command. I'm going to put 10 in. The distance for these center lines can vary, and some offices have a standard for them. But just for this project's sake, we're going to go ahead and make it at 10. Now I'm going to use the extend command, selecting this line, and this line here. I'll extend the top, the bottom, I get that nice pop. The bottom and the top, and I get that nice pop right there. And then I'll take those lines that I offsetted and delete them. So I have my nice clean center lines here. I can delete these two lines. Actually, you know what? I'll delete the one line that's going across here. And since these are going through, this one's already cut, so I don't have to worry about it. But I will trim this side here. Now let me trim again, selecting these two lines, cutting out the middle. Let's try that same distance of 10. So I'll use offset, but since I last used offset, I used it at 10. It remembers that 10 is the last offset distance. So I can just hit enter and then select down and up and down and up. Click enter. Then I'll use the extend command, selecting these as my boundary edges. And selecting the bottom and the top to extend with. And hit delete. And there we go, nice center lines. Now for here, the holes here, here, and here, I could just use the center mark tool. Change my line type to center. I'll go ahead and use the annotate tool, center mark, and I'll select the largest circle, and the largest circle. And I get nice clean center marks for those. I'll erase these two projection lines. And there we go. I now have my top view and I have my front view. Let's go ahead and do the side view next. For this, I need to position this drawing. So I'm going to select it and use the copy command. Going to the home tab, copy. Selecting a base point pretty much anywhere. It doesn't matter where I pick the base point. I'm going to pull it out in this direction. Any distance, doesn't matter. Just want to make sure there's a clean area between these two drawings. Then I'm going to select this, and I'm going to use the rotate tool. I'm going to use this left-hand side. You can pick anywhere. I'll use this. Use the center of the circle. And I'm going to pull it straight down. So this is at 0. I'm going to rotate it negative 90 degrees. That way, the right-hand side of this drawing is now facing downward. So this is like a top view for the right-hand side. I'll go ahead and select this information and move it a little bit more to my left, just so that that right-hand view will be a little bit more closer to the drawing. Now I'll go ahead and I'll change my layer back to construction, and I'll project all my information across. Bring the top of the circle across. I'll bring the bottom across. And to save some time of dragging it across, I'll select that line, use the copy command. Copying it to here, to the quadrants of the circle. I could also copy the center. And that's all the points of reference that I need here. Now I'll bring a line down from the top view. Coming straight down. And to save time, we'll copy that. Using that base point, selecting any points of reference here. The quadrant, the center, the quadrant, this endpoint, and this endpoint here. I'll go through and make sure this is a center line. And I'll also select this line here, make sure I know that's a center line as well. Okay. Now on this one, I'm not actually going to be drawing any circles. because all the circles are going to be just flat views. Where this one I had circles kind of looking at the top, and then they're flat on this view. They're cylinders. And then here I had a circle here, but on this view, I'm seeing it as a cylinder. So here, I'm not going to really see too many circles, but I just want to make sure I know where those center lines are going to be. For example, this, how it goes from here all the way down to here, that's this center line. But now, because it's in the center, it's going to be here. So that means that this line and this line here are going to be changed to hidden lines. And this line and this line here are going to be changed to center lines. Hidden lines, excuse me. So what are the rest? These are going to be object lines. I'm going to change my layer to object so I can trace this. Starting from this top corner, going across to here, is the very tippy top of this cylinder. And it goes down until it hits the base of the piece. Then I'm going to bring that base going all the way across to the other part, right to here. I'm going to bring that back up to this location here, and then across here. Then I'm going to bring this all the way down to the very bottom. And this is going to go all the way across here. And then back up again. So your distinctive U shape, that's right here. Now, because this protrudes out past that U shape, we're going to need a line, a solid line, going from here straight across, and a line going from here straight across, to show that this surface area coming from here and around is a flat surface. Even though it's curved, it looks flat from this view. And then this view here, which looks flat, is the surface of this piece here. Then we have our hidden line going through. Remember how we trimmed out on the top view this space here? So now we're going to do the same thing on this view. So I'm going to use trim. Selecting here, 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 and here. I'm not going to stop the trim command. I'm going to leave that on. But you can now see the hidden lines are the same length as the hidden lines here. I'm going to cut the center lines now. Here, here, and in here. I'm going to right-click, enter. And then now I got to take care of the bottom. I'm going to use the trim command. Selecting here and here to cut away at these hidden lines and these hidden lines. And now this cylinder is the same length as this cylinder here. Oh, I forgot to trim out the center line. So I'm going to start the trim command again, selecting my two cutting planes, crossing window, crossing window. Right-click and enter. Now I need to go ahead and extend those. So I'm going to use the offset tool. Offset still remembers that I had a 10 offset set. I'm going to hit the enter key. And I'll just offset those lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Right-click enter. Then I'll use the extend tool. And select the tops and bottoms, the left and the right. the right and the left. Right click enter. I'll remove these lines. And hit delete. And now I'm left with my nice center lines going through the object. I'll come through and delete these lines. Delete key. And there we go. I have no longer need of this view here, so I'm going to select it and delete it. Now that our drawing is complete, let's make sure we save our drawing. From common practice, you should have saved your drawing at the beginning of this tutorial. So we're going to hit save. If you did not save it, it'll come up as a save as. The file name should be 8.92. Save. All right. So now that that's saved, if I have a power edge or anything, I do not lose too much of my drawing. Now we can start looking at the sheets, picking out which sheet size we want. Let's try an A size sheet. Click inside the viewport twice. Move the drawing into view. As we can see, this looks a little tight already. I could move this a little bit up and move this a little bit more to the left, but I do think this is going to look pretty tight. So I'm going to go to the 11 by 17, click inside the viewport, and move that a little bit more. And already it's looking pretty nice. You don't have to worry about this little box here because that's on my drawing and not on yours. So we'll just center that as best we can. Make sure that your scale is at 1:1. That if you accidentally zoom in or zoom out, that number will change. But you can fix it by going here and changing it to 1:1. This may look a little hard to view. I'm going to turn off the grid display so it's a little bit easier to see. The grid will not be affected on your drawing if you print it. It's just something to help you work with. So this is looking pretty good already. Now that we know that we're going to be able to work with 1:1 on 11 by 17, let's go ahead and get out of the viewport. Now you can leave the viewport open by selecting on the inside and dimensioning here. You can also lock the layer or lock the scale so the scale doesn't change. I prefer to go in the model. Now in here, I'm going to select this little window you do not have, and I'm going to move it out of the way just so it doesn't get in the way of our viewport. Now I need to go ahead and replicate these dimensions onto the drawing. For my dimensions, I'm going to make sure I'm on the Anno layer. Let's go ahead and dimension with a linear dimension from the edge here to the center of this point here. As we dimension our first dimension, you'll notice on mine that I have my precision set to 3 decimal places. The drawing requires only up to 1 decimal place on 1 dimension. So for the majority of the dimensions, there are going to be no decimals at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our dim style, D-I-M-S. Dim styles at the top of the selections. We click dim style. Going to modify our dim style and change the precision to 0. so it shows no decimal places. I'm going to place OK and close. Now that 32, instead of saying the decimals, they're no longer visible. I can now continue my dimensioning from the beginning to the end. I need this thickness here. Instead of putting it on the drawing in the way here, I'm going to put it on this side view here. From here to here. I need to notate that's going to be 2 times. So select on the text. In front of it, I'll put 2x, capital X, space. You know the linear dimension. Going from the center of the piece to the center here. And I need that to say 2x as well. So double click on the text, put in 2 capital X space, click twice away from it. I need my thickness from here to here to be displayed. Now what you'll notice about this one is that it's supposed to be 12.5 and it's reading at 13. If I click the dimension, right click and go to properties, in here for this one particular dimension, my precision under primary units, I want to change it to 1 decimal place, and that now shows the correct dimension. Hit the escape key and close out properties. Now I need another dimension from here to the center, dimensioning that. Next, all I need is my radiuses and my diameters. So I'll start a radius dimension here, placing it right about here. I'll right click, repeat radius dimension. And this one will go on this side. I'll put it down here, make it a little bit cleaner. And then the hole is going to be a diameter. Right here. Repeat diameter for this hole here. Okay. Then I'm going to select all 4, the radiuses and diameters. Go to properties. And I already see my center mark here. I want to change that to none, so I don't change up my green center marks. Then I'll hit the escape key. And since this dimension here, for the 15 diameter, says 2 places, I'm going to click on that twice. Type in 2 capital X space. Click away from that. And then on the diameter of this hole here, click on the front. Oops. Click on it twice. The arrow key goes to the left, and then I can type in to capital X space and click anywhere in the black. Escape. And there we go. We have all our dimensions. 2 times 12, boom. R15, 2 times 12. 2 times 12, R15. 215 and R15. We have our 35 and our 12.5. We have our 2x 38 and our 3264. So now that all those are dimensioned, let's go ahead and close out the properties. Go back to our landscape, and there's your drawing looking really nice. At this point, you click on the gray area and not be in your viewport anymore. From here, let's save our work. Now that it's saved, you can go ahead and fill in the information for the project number, the scale of the drawing, drawn by your name, the date of completion, sheet 1 of 1. Once you're done with that, save the drawing again. Then we'll go ahead and go to print. Continue to plot single sheet. From here, if you use the correct template, it'll now say drawing to PDF. From here, you're going to want to go ahead and preview. Once you see the drawing looks the way you want it to look, all the lines are clean, dimensions are there. We'll go ahead and exit that. And then you can now hit the OK button. Once you hit the OK button, you'll be prompted to save the PDF. Make sure you save the PDF with all your other completed work, and then turn it in the way Mr. Regas wants you to turn it in per the lesson plan. This has been your 8.92 tutorial, and I'll see you in the classroom. Bye-bye.